I'm waking.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Buzzflayers interview. This time we have Scott Clay returning for a second round. And the reason that he is returning this time is because he has released a Live in Europe live record, which, in my opinion, I listened to the whole thing through. I love that you pulled from different records for the show.
Yeah.
I got a question actually. Was it all one show, or was it taken from a few different? It felt like it was all one show.
We took it from a couple different shows. I think about 3. Yeah, I want to say 3 or 4.
Okay, great. Yeah. I like that you mixed and matched tracks from different records. You know what I mean? You played a couple of my favorites. I was hoping for Jade, but that's all right.
Yeah, I know it was hard. It was fun because I think I recorded a total of either 7 or 8 shows in total, and we just kind of had to pick and choose like which song had a vibe and how
piece
things
them together
with that night. So we did. Jade got recorded, it just didn't make the album, unfortunately.
Oh well, I figured that was my big thing. I was like, all right, well, because the way that you guys mastered it in the end, it kind of felt like one flowing performance. That was my big question. I was like, was this pull? But I was kind of picking up on little things where I was like, you can hear little differences sometimes. And I was like, all right, so is this a few different shows, or is this one show that he just did straight through? Audience reaction was always really good. I loved your little things in between. I actually did not know that Chief Joseph was about that until you explained it in the show.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it was. I was like, "Whoa, dude! Like, that's cool that you brought." But my favorite thing is I forget which song it was now. Damn! But you're like, that song is about beer. That's as country as I get.
Exactly. It's One for the Road is the song.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because especially when I'm over in the UK, everyone, I do use the from Nashville from Nashville, Scott Clay. So a lot of Europeans show up thinking I'm going to be in a cowboy hat and cowboy boots, and which is a fair assumption in some ways, but there's such a big scene here in Nashville for Americana and for rock and for bluegrass. So it's funny because people do kind of show up a lot of times at my UK shows expecting
like
more
country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And country is huge right now, especially they have what's called C to C over in London. It's all the US artists come over and do country, and so they're kind of like, a lot of people show up expecting that.
I was actually wondering, because I do speak with several artists that do the kind of what you do, but a little differently, where basically they'll go and play like a completely different country. Plan it out and then just go on like a small tour in a different country and then come back. And I'm always kind of like, all right, well, how, the reaction was great in the record, but it's like, is it different playing there than here? Like, is the vibe different, or?
It really is a lot different. Yeah.
How so?
I can tell you first and foremost, like, it's especially in the UK and even when I was in Northern Europe, small clubs, small venues. Like even to the point of like little bookstores. Like literally like 25, 30 chairs. And I think for the average European, that's a very normal concert experience. I think they're absorbing a lot of their live music in settings that have like 25, 35, 45 people.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I mean, I dig the bigger aspects too, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I like the more personal, because the stuff that you do, you want to pay attention to the lyrics a lot of the time. Or I would, and it with like a huge gigantic setting. Sometimes people are talking or whatever, and it's kind of like whatever, it's kind of hard to like, you gotta go, can I just listen to the, so I like the more personal, like 25, 30 person setting. And I think that's maybe why they like it, because it's like, no one's going to be, maybe they're kind of like, like if you go to the movies and someone's talking like, oh, please stop it. Quiet, that kind of thing.
It's a really fun vibe in that way, because like, you can hear a pin drop in the room. And people do actually, they do their homework. They show up and they say, hey, I watched this video of yours, or hey, I read this lyric and I wanted a little clarification on it. So there's a lot of that's done in advance, which is also really nice.
Do you clarify for them? Do you talk to them?
Oh yeah. Because people will come before the show or after the show or on the set break, and it's very pointed, specific questions. It's like, hey, I was listening to this song and second verse, I kind of wondered what you were maybe referring to. That kind of
stuff. That's so cool, though.
Yeah.
That's so cool because it's like what you're doing is resonating with people. They're asking like really detailed questions, which means they're really soaking it in and being engaged and wondering about what you mean. So they go and ask you. Yeah, that's so dope, man. That's so cool. I love that.
And honestly, that reminds me a little bit of like before I really was performing much. I was probably 13, 14 years old, and I would go to these indie shows in Eastern Washington, and it was that kind of vibe. Where we like, oh my God, they took a different guitar solo than they did on the record. These little again, intimate shows, and there was kind of our friends playing, but maybe a little bit like more famous than that. But we knew them personally in a way. Indie bands. Yeah. So it was the same vibe in that era as well. So I enjoy kind of like
feeling that aesthetic. That. Yeah, exactly. That's cool. I love that too. I did the same thing when I was little. When I was young.
So fun.
You picked great song choices. First of all, I think that so you pulled from a bunch of 3 or 4 different shows.
Yep.
You probably recorded. Obviously, you
tracked
recorded
everything.
Tracked everything. So
brought a rig with me.
That was my question. You brought your own rig. I remember you mentioning that. I think in the last interview, you were not about to embark on this tour, but you were planning it out, and you were like, I think I'm going to do this, and you saw that shit through. It's great.
Yeah, it was so fun. Yeah, I brought all the hardware with me, and I had an engineer that worked remotely with me. So as we were setting up the venue, he's literally in Seattle, Washington. We'd get on Zoom and he'd Skype into my computer, and we'd get the levels set and we'd test everything out. So we did everything remotely.
You do that through like a call, like a Zoom call like this, and be like, I'm the dude. You're like. And you can do that like that?
It was so cool. Yeah, there's we kind of got it like maybe 85% dialed in, but then each room is a little bit different. And there's this great plugin that allows the engineer to hear the actual audio like in real time at CD quality. So we use that plugin. And again, like it's live stuff. Yeah. So I mean, you can do a lot after the fact too, in post. But we were just making sure that the gain was set correctly and the microphone placement was good. So we did everything remotely and got it all set up.
So you went. Oh, here's a question. So I mean, this may seem like a dumb question, but I wasn't there and I haven't learned that much about what you did yet. But obviously, this is very stripped down. You and a guitar a lot of the time, but there's also other stuff going on. There's like overlaying guitar parts and stuff. So did you have someone else or with you, or were you doing like a looping kind of thing with some of that stuff?
I was doing some both actually. Yeah, because every show I brought 2 UK openers with me. So we were always doing a bill, and Helen Wren was along for the whole tour. I met her 1 or 2 tours before. So she came along for the whole run. And then we had local artists, like in Liverpool, we had a guy, Danny, that just played that show. Brighton, we had, so I would bring up those musicians to
and
play.
How did they rehearse with you, or?
We just literally, like
some
of those guys were just literally virtuosos.
That was my thing. I was like, all right, so there's some songs are just totally, but some songs like there's some really great guitar stuff going over the rhythm guitar, and I'm like, all right, so he might not be alone, but I was like, sometimes I'm listening to him, like, did he loop this part and then start playing a little thing over it?
Yeah.
But it's like if you have these dudes that are coming on the tour with you and like playing stuff, maybe they don't even need to. All they need to do is hear the chords and like, all right, I know where the break is. Maybe you give a nod or something. It's like, cool, I'm gonna do my thing here.
Exactly.
That's I like how you do it, and it's like almost like a free form, bit of improvisation, and it's like that can go a really long way for the liveliness and the energy of the show.
Well, it gives it some personality. Each night was a little different because the openers, like Helen was along for the whole run, but we'd have different artists. So it was always 3 of us, which was fun and also it helps build out the bill and the room and the audience.
Yeah. So there was always 3 people during the show. Yes. Got it. And an engineer that is with you via Zoom before the show starts.
Yeah.
So after it's all over, so how long was the tour? How long did you go?
It was about 2 weeks.
That's it. That's quick. Okay.
Yeah, it was a quick little tour because we're kind of getting towards the holiday season.
Yeah.
So I just kind of snuck this in right like during Thanksgiving, first week of December.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we did 10 venues, something like that, 10 or
You
11.
did 10 show. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yep.
But you didn't record all of those though.
I actually did. Yeah.
So was it, I mean, it must have been like, how long did it take you to sit there? So after it's all done, you have your recordings of everything, right? And so at this point, you know, you sit down and kind of go, all right, I'm going to go through all of this stuff. And you do
I would sort of based on like the audience and just my memory of my performance, I'd make little stars. Like I would literally have a little note and I would say, you know, One for the Road on night 2 was actually, I felt had a great vibe. Night of, you know, like we're tearing down and I'm like, you know, out of the set, I feel like this one really clicked.
So it's always in your mind as you're going.
Kept a note going. Otherwise, it's a lot of material to try to go through.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But you're also the dude that's like, you know, editing videos for a month and a half, like putting together. So I wouldn't be surprised if you were like, yeah, I took everything we did, and
I did listen through it all, and there were a couple that kind of like popped out. There was like, I didn't know, and also like, you know, the rooms were all different. So there was one room in particular in Stafford. It was like a second floor of a pub. It was a really cool vibe, but it was, you know, it's a really small room. And and honestly, the crowd was a little noisy. Like glasses were clinking around, people were having conversations. So in my mind, I was like, oh, this probably is going to be a throwaway night. But it actually, when I listened through it, it was the one that had The Captive and Burning for You. And those are two of my favorites. And I feel like the performance is like really intimate.
Yeah.
So I was ready to throw that whole night out the window.
So you're smart. You played it smart. You went back and listened, even though you made stars and shit during the night, because it's like, I would imagine it's like you go and play a show. There's a part of you that you know, you're still you. You're still looking at it from a certain perspective. So you go and play a show. You may go, okay, cool. Well, you know, Chief Joseph was great this night.
Yeah.
You know, and do that, but then, you know, you also may think in your head while you're doing that, like, but maybe I'll go and listen to it and it's not going to be as good as I think. So I'm going to go listen to the whole shebang anyway.
Exactly.
So how long did it take you to piece together all the record?
Well, let's see. We actually did it really fast because I got back and again, I'd been working with Josh Richens, the Seattle engineer. So we were already kind of in like go mode of like, hey, you know, I've got the stuff, let's start mixing. And so it all came together pretty quick. I think we just kind of like printed everything out in MP3 and I just put it in my car. And as I was driving around, give it one listen. And the honest truth is, like, as a performer, the biggest takeaway, like, this was such a microscope, like, detailed capture of everything. And my kind of what I learned through the process was I may show up and have a night that maybe my emotions aren't really there, or I'm distracted, or I'm like, you know, just travel's hard and time zones are hard. And
you can't be on every single time. Right.
But there was these surprising moments where I was like, you know what? I was totally tuned out. And then actually that was the best take, you know? So this weird thing of like, maybe not feeling the emotion in the moment. It doesn't mean it doesn't translate to a good performance.
Right. Maybe in your head something else is going on while you're performing, or you're like, you know, you have to remember the words or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
You're thinking about something, and then in the performance, you're going, oh well, the emotion really isn't there. And then you go back and listen, you're like, wow, it actually came through way better than I thought.
And arguably, and sometimes the best. It's like when you're logically off, it allows like the performance to happen just in free form.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. It's like a subconscious thing.
Yeah, that was like a really great takeaway.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, this is awesome, and actually it can kind of go vice versa. Like when you're pushing too hard or like trying too hard as well, it can actually come off as kind of like cheesy or just not authentic. You know?
Yeah. Did you find it like, you know, obviously you enjoyed yourself. Do you like that kind of process, like as much as when you go into a studio and record a record, like in terms of like mixing, you sit in on that stuff? Do you sit in on that stuff?
Yeah, I I love most everything in the studio, and I don't always sit in on the comps, especially vocal comps, because I like.
What's that mean?
Like
What's comp? What's a comp mean?
That's like if I were to do like 7 vocal takes and then you piece together a final take.
Right.
I like to allow a third party to be really critical about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I'm there, I might give too much, because vocals can be tricky, because it's like there's so much personality in it, and you can be the worst critic when it's yours. So I like to allow another person, an engineer, to really just use their perspective.
Is it more nerve-wracking to be on the stage, or is it more nerve-wracking to be in the studio, like, I got to get this track right because this is my record, which is more?
Yeah. The live is definitely more nerve-wracking, because the nice thing about the studio is you can go in, you do a day in the studio, and if you don't like what you hear, it's like, let's do another day.
Right.
Let's
redo it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which obviously you cannot do,
not do live. But there's an element to live as well, where it's like, look, and I, as someone who's performed a fair amount, it's like, you have to kind of approach it like, look, this is where I'm at today.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I can within the parameters of what I'm feeling. Like, you could have a cold, you could have a flu coming on, you could have not slept the night before, you could have had your car break down. All kinds of things. So it's like, I'm going to do the best that I can for you all today.
For what I am.
And it may not be what I would want to have given, but it's also like, I don't get that choice,
Is it more fun for you? Well, you kind of answered this, but is it more fun for you to play a bigger one than a smaller one, or smaller venue than a bigger one?
I would say with a full band, the bigger venue, and with a show like this, smaller. Or, I mean, it could be fun either way, but this was a setting for like the solo type.
Smaller. Were all the venues, you mentioned that they were all different sizes, but were they all kind of smaller for this tour, or were there some bigger ones?
There was a couple bigger ones. Yeah, Liverpool was pretty big.
How many people?
It was probably like, it was probably could have been 400.
Wow. Awesome. That's
so
awesome.
I mean, it varied from everywhere from like 30 to 400.
Is it more? I mean, the effect has to feel different when you're playing in front, even whichever one you like better, the effect has to feel different playing in front of 30 people than 400 people, right? Like,
yeah.
You find
it's just a different vibe. I mean, every room's a little different. I mean, you could, as a performer, it can just be the stage mix. Like, you feel more comfortable because of the monitor mix.
Right.
So I mean, that alone.
You ever have to stop and be like, "Oh, can you turn the monitor, like the vocal
not
over the
much,
monitor?"
No, because we kind of got it pretty well set in advance.
Do you wear in-ears while you do?
For this one, I didn't. I've in the past I have, but because of what we were trying to capture, you really like just feeling the room was
natural,
super important. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose in-ears are more for bigger, like maybe the 400 person venue would be good for. Also, I think in-ears also probably. I think I'm right about this. I think in-ears would be for a more of a full band where there's like drums and
you want to keep the drum.
You want to hear
out.
Yourself. Yeah. Right. Okay. You want to be able to hear your own notes in your guitar and make sure that you're singing in key. So that's why you wear the in-ear. Right. But this
didn't need it much for this.
You can hear yourself. Right. Yeah. Yep. Totally. Okay. That makes a lot more sense. So now, how long have you been back? First of all. This was
it's been about 6 or 7 months now.
Yeah, this was back. Yeah, okay, right. This is November, December.
Yep.
So since you've been back, have you been working on any new stuff?
Lots and lots. It never stops.
You're just nodding your head, kind of like, I felt like you were going to be like, not really. I haven't had time. But the answer's
probably more than I've ever had in my life.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's the deal? Like, are you tracking any of this stuff yet, or is you just writing it? Or is this going to be another album?
About 5 songs in. Yeah, 5 songs into another project.
Recording?
Yep. Oh. Yeah. So the what's been coming up is, I do probably 4 writing sessions a week here in Nashville with other artists. So
right, I remember that.
As we're writing together, maybe the song we're working on is actually for another artist, but I'm actually including that on my record. So
Oh.
it's songs I've either completely written myself or co-written with others. And it's going to be featuring other vocalists, other instrumentalists,
I
and their
remember you.
stories. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. That's really cool. I remember
Yeah.
you telling me about the writing workshops last interview and
Yep.
how you work
Yeah.
with songs with other people and collaborate. Because I asked you if you collaborate
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah.
So if you have a song, you're working with this other person, and the song that's going to be on the
Yeah.
record, they're on the record too. Like they're doing
Exactly.
their
It'll
thing.
be featuring. Yep.
That's so. Is this whole record? Is this record
whole
mostly really
It's
featuring
all
artists?
collab. Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's so cool. Is
It's gonna
that a
be
first
really
for you? That's a
fun.
first for you, right?
Yeah, it's a first. It's a first.
To have
Yep.
a full album of collaborations.
Yep. Yeah.
So
And
it's
so
gonna
a
be
lot
like-
of these will just be other people's stories and they're singing their song. And I helped write it with them. But it's
Mhm.
literally, you know, their perspective in the story.
So are you not singing on this record?
I will be singing. So some of it will be kind of like a duet back and forth thing. Others will be me as background vocals. And then some songs will be featuring me with other artists supporting my lead vocal.
On this record.
Yeah, on this record.
I love that. That's
Yeah,
so
it's going to be
cool.
all over the board. Different genres, different stories, different. Yeah, it's been a really fun project already.
So each workshop that you have, each songwriting workshop that you have, is it always a new person that you're
No,
with?
there's a lot of consistent writers. You know, I've got like
Oh.
I've got some standing like weekly writing sessions with people here in town where we just
Right.
meet up. We meet up every Saturday at 10. And
And-
so and then other times, Nashville's such a hub. I'll have artists that maybe I've met months ago that are in town for just a short time, and we'll meet up and write.
hook up.
Yep, exactly.
Wow. And then that'll become something for something.
Exactly.
Wow,
And there's so much material to choose from because, we'll have written, mini songs together, and it's like, does one feel like it needs to be on this record, or does it feel like it's, supposed to be your own thing?
You just played Europe. Do you find it doing the workshops is one thing, and maybe playing open mics is it harder? Is it difficult because it's so packed out with so many musicians to get a decent gig in Nashville? And is that part of why you're like, I'm just gonna go fucking play Europe?
Well, the only way I really ever try to book gigs in Nashville is always collaboration,
Right.
because it's such a dense environment. It's the most success I've found in live is just bring all those successful people together.
Yeah.
And I don't even necessarily try to like be the headline or the forefront person. I'm actually trying to be more behind the scenes of like bringing talent together. And so anytime because I host a quarterly writers round here called Bonanza Extravaganza. And so we always have between 12 and 16 artists. And I've got one coming up in 2 weeks. So again, it's kind of like I'm still performing, and a lot of times those end up becoming collaborations, me and other artists that are there.
Yeah, it's not really about you though.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's in this town, I think that's for me what has really found traction.
Right.
Yeah, make it a team effort.
Just a quick question for my own personal thing, just because if I were, I mean, the answer is probably obvious. Maybe it's not just that as easy as I'm making it seem, but how come you didn't do like a visual, like film the shows, like with video?
To
do like a live, put together like a live DVD type of thing.
I just wanted to go like completely, Grateful Dead style on this. You know what I mean? Like it's just the 70s and we don't even have the technology. That's kind of like I pretended for this to happen.
Got it. Okay.
And I feel like it gives it a vibe.
It does.
Like,
no, it does. Yeah.
You don't get to see a lot of your favorite live records. You don't ever get to see.
That's true. That's very true. That's very true.
So I kind of wanted to keep that element.
Damn, I never thought about it like that
before. Yep. But so many of them are from the 70s, 80s.
That's so true.
Where the technology, even if they did film it, the quality was so poor that they're like, what? We're not even going to release on my Spotify. I made a playlist of it's called Different Versions is the name of the playlist.
Yeah.
So it has all these live songs back to back. So the studio album right next to the live recording. So you can kind of A and B everything. So if you go on Spotify under different versions playlist on my artist page.
Oh wait, how do I?
I've
Okay,
kind of
okay.
done.
Oh,
I've sort of done
see.
the work to show the differences in the
Oh,
song.
I want to. That's what I want to do. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold
It's
on.
got
So here's
everything.
live in Europe. Oh, I have to go to your actual artist page. Hold on, that's why.
Yep. Go to artist page.
Okay, and then when I'm on
Under
artist
playlists, it should. If you scroll down, you should see like playlists that I've made as an artist.
on tour about this artist playlist, all 50 influences. Oh, let's look at all of them.
Yep. There's some other ones.
Songs written about each. Okay.
Yeah.
What is it called? What is the one called?
Different versions.
There it is. Different versions.
Yep. So if you click on that, you'll see a ton of stuff from this record, but then you'll see every corresponding studio song.
Oh, that's even better.
And there's some that even have a couple different studio versions. So that I really want, because, you know, not everyone understands the correlation between all these. So I wanted to kind of do the homework for listeners so that they
can compare and contrast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and if you scroll to the very bottom of it,
yeah.
there's a song called Reminiscing. And I played it on this album. It was the first song I ever wrote in my whole career.
Oh, wow.
And the studio song is from 2001. So I also included that.
But anyway, all right. So thank you again for doing this.
Thank
This is
you.
great. No, I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Strands of golden moonlight that shine inside your room. How it